Coast podcast brought to you by the Lines and Play Picks, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined as always by my counterpart on the East Coast, Nate Weitzer. Another full slate, as there will continue to be for the rest of this NBA season. Tonight, Nate's got a great article on Play Picks for you, everything you need there. As always, jump in those comments, like and subscribe if you would, and we will get into that slate tonight, Nate, for March the 16th.
Yes, sir. Another good one tonight. We start off with the Jazz struggling a little bit. They're minus 4.5 at the Celtics. That's dropping, actually. And the Cavs plus 10.5 at Heat. The Knicks on a back-to-back are plus 7 at the Sixers, who are without Joel Embiid. The Thunder right now plus 6 at Bulls. The Hawks hovering around minus 10 at the Rockets. The Pelicans plus 1.5 at Blazers, who get CJ McCollum back tonight. And the Wolves are plus 9 at the Lakers as they look for back-to-back wins. So a lot of juicy options here. And where are you thinking, Josh?
I'm starting with you boys, with Boston. That stuck out to me right away with that Jazz game. Starting with the over, I'm looking at it at 227.5. I can find it, so I still really like that. I'll start there, even though I like Boston as well. For Boston specifically, the over has hit in 8 of the last 11. And their offense has it's gone completely upwards since Kemba has actually found his groove in the offense. That has diminished Jalen's production a little bit, but not too much. He's still hovering around 20 points a game. And like I said, you got Kemba shooting 8 threes a game and making them at a clip of about 38%. Right now their bench is scoring 41 points per game as well. So they're finally getting that help from the reserves on top of their 3 stars. And Marcus Smart is back helping them on defense a bit. So that doesn't bode well for the total necessarily, but he's only been back a couple games. He still has a slight minute restriction, about 20 minutes a game. So not going to impact the game too much to be able to keep it low. And if you are looking at that total of 4.5, that feels way too big for a Utah team that's trending completely downwards, the opposite direction of the Celtics. They're 1-5 against the spread in their last 6, 2-4 overall. We know they're on a little bit of a tailspin right now. But like I said, for that over, the Jazz are still 7th in pace. And their overs are still hitting despite the fact that they're losing. So I'm feeling really comfortable about the over, but I'm also going to hit that 4.5 points for the C's at home right now. Just as home dogs, which they are tonight. They're 3-1 this year. They were able to cover against the Clippers, the Bucks, and the Lakers. So I feel good about that tonight.
Yeah, and I gave a look at combining those two picks, Celtics 4.5 and the over gets you, I think, upwards of plus 200 on DraftKings. Definitely like that because I kind of envision a game that goes down to the wire here, back and forth, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum kind of trading those ISO buckets that we've seen. But the biggest point you mentioned is the Celtics bench with that added depth with Smart back, with Kemba playing like he is. Jalen can now lead the second unit, and that's not even counting in their bench stats, which is 41 points per game, shooting 50% from 3 over their last 6 off the bench. If you can keep that going, and obviously the Jazz have the 6th man of the year, Jordan Clarkson, this game should continue to pile up points. That's why we've seen the over rise from 225 to where it's at currently. Jump on it now if you can. I totally agree. I'm also thinking about teasing that game to get the Celtics up to like plus 8, which I feel the utmost confidence in, with the Bulls, who are home against the Thunder. The Bulls really have been victimized by a brutal schedule lately. They basically only played great teams for about 12 games straight, yet still have the number 7 defensive rating, number 6 rebounding rate, and top 3-point defense during that span. It hasn't translated to a lot of wins, but they have won 7 straight against teams with losing records. So in come the Thunder, Billy Donovan's former team, who came back from a 22-point deficit to beat the Bulls in overtime in January. That's got to sting. But now this Bulls team is starting to get healthy in the right ways. Otto Porter finally had a big game on Sunday. He's going to be key in defending the Thunder length there. Lauri Markkanen is heating up. So if you like them to just win tonight, I like the Lauri Markkanen player performance doubles. You can get plus 100 for him to score 15 in a win, or plus 230 for him to score 20. I think either one of those is very likely against a Thunder team that is missing. Al Horford's going to rest. Darius Bazley is out. Lou Dort and Theo Maledon are both game time decisions, and they just traded Hamidou Diallo. So the only angle I see there is look out for Puku, Alexei Pukusevich. the 7 foot
Close enough.
point guard sensation, who's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Might not necessarily translate to wins for the Thunder as he learns the NBA game, but definitely someone to think about in DFS, as we'll get to later,
Yeah.
and something to just look at in terms of maybe even creating some turnovers for the Bulls so that they can get out and run and close this game out.
Yeah, I love that. We've been waiting to talk about Pocus. I'm not even gonna try to say it, man.
Poku.
I'm not even,
Yeah.
Poku. We've been trying to talk about Poku for a while. Everyone forgot that the Thunder drafted a 7 foot point guard, but he's been killing the G League, and now we'll get to see him there. Really like the Bulls pick though, so I'm with you on that one. And then I'm going to look at another high scoring game, I think, tonight in that Portland New Orleans Pelicans game. We were talking a little bit last night. We saw that started around 222. That was insane. It's definitely at where it should be right now at 240.5. That was probably just a little bit of a typo somewhere. So at 240.5, it's a lot less juicy, but I'm still looking at, obviously New Orleans' offense has cruised, becoming the sixth best offense in the league when it started in the bottom half. And their overs are hitting 72% of the time. It's crazy to see that. They've hit they're 28-11 this year in terms of the over hitting. And last time they met, these teams scored 250 combined. Dame went off for 43, and you look at why. It's really because these two teams do what their offenses are going to be able to exploit the weaknesses on the opposing defenses. So the Blazers shoot threes at an incredible clip. They score the second most amount of their points in the league off of threes. And the Pelicans are in the bottom 5 in defensive 3-point percentage given up. And then you look at how many points in the paint the Pellies are able to score with Zion attacking, and the Blazers not defending the paint well at all, or defending well at all, as one of the worst, if not the worst, defensive team in the league right now. So I'm feeling comfortable about the over. CJ McCollum is coming back for Portland. That should only help their offense, even though he'll be on a little bit of a minutes restriction. So I'm feeling really good about that. I want to take the Pellies, Nate. I really want to believe that they turn things around since that really bad loss to the Wolves a couple games ago, a couple blowout wins in a row, including against the Clippers. But I'm still going to wait and see if they're able to be trusted to bet on them. But the over is going to be able to hit with that team consistently, especially against the Blazers team tonight.
Yeah, tough to trust the Pelicans on the road if you look at their recent results there. This is a young team that just has no continuity. So, yeah, I would consider taking the Blazers at the small spread with CJ back. He's not necessarily a guy I worry about the rust. I think he comes right back in and helps that game offensively. So, I do like the over despite it being 240. And, yeah, one last note, these teams are bottom 2 in terms of turnovers produced per game over their last 12. So we should see plenty of offense, very few wasted offensive possessions. So we turn now to the most exploitable team in the NBA, the shamelessly tanking Houston Rockets, now on a 16-game losing streak. It was rumored Christian Wood might play tonight, but leaning towards doubtful now. Why not get a little closer to get a few more ping pong balls? And we look at the Atlanta Hawks coming to town. The spread started at -7.5. It's up to 10 now. We saw this with the Jazz the other night, where it crept from 14, I think, all the way up to 19, and then they weren't able to cover. So if this video comes out and we're at 12, 13 for the Hawks, I would reconsider. But a 10-point spread, definitely capable of covering that. You look at the Hawks are 5-0 since Nate McMillan took over. They have the number 2 defensive rating, number 2 net rating in that span. Danilo Gallinari is finally healthy. He's shooting 49% from the field, getting about 20 points per game in his last 4. They're playing at a slow pace and struggling with turnovers, which worries you a little bit about, guaranteeing a double-digit win. But the Rockets, I mean, aside from not having Wood, they're not playing PJ Tucker. They don't have David Nwaba, Daniel House, Eric Gordon. They just don't have any presence on the defensive perimeter. And John Wall is supposed to sit tonight too, right?
Ben McLemore sitting.
Yeah, I mean, they're just sitting everyone. They're playing a G League affiliate. You should trust teams to beat them. It's just a question of by how much.
Yeah, and the Hawks are trending in the correct direction, as you mentioned, enough for me to feel comfortable that they can put up the points on this Rockets team. I don't know who's going to score for this Rockets team. You also got Eric Gordon out. Not sure if you mentioned him. So I mean, I don't know who's supposed to score for them. I'm sure Oladipo will play. Might be a nice place in some DFS lineups tonight, but Other than that, yeah, I'm not sure where they're going to get points from. If it gets to 13 or above, it starts to scare me. There's easy backdoor covers there. It's still an NBA team, but 10 or less, absolutely jump on that and even maybe look to tease that Hawks game down a smidge with one of the other games that we like for sure. So anything, speaking of that, those DFS lineups tonight, Nate, some options you're looking at tonight?
Well, you mentioned who's going to score for the Rockets. It's been Kevin Porter Jr. lately, and
Yes, sir.
he's still pretty underpriced. Somebody you're definitely locking in. I'm waiting to see if Clint Capella is confirmed for the Hawks because that's a revenge spot for him against poor Justin Patton, who's a little over his head playing center for them. There's some great values in that Wolves Lakers game that could, turn ugly either way. You could see the Lakers just completely come out flat on a back to back. So I'm looking at the cheap guys. Jalen Noel, the former Pac-12 Player of the Year, has had a nice run for the Wolves. I think he keeps it going. Kyle Kuzma's going to keep it going. Talen Horton Tucker had a nice game last night for the Lakers, and he's worth a shot at close to the minimum. And then I'm looking at that Thunder Bulls game. Puku, as we mentioned, Ty Jerome could have a nice game if Maladon is ruled out, and Otto Porter Jr. we mentioned still very cheap. Um, and for the high price guys, I think going with Damian Lillard, even with CJ back, is a nice way to kind of zig if the tournament field zags. It's a pretty thin position at point guard in terms of getting elite guys tonight. So I'm looking at Dame against that porous Pelicans defense.
It's a great call for that mind game to be able to say, this is the one time maybe you'll find some value with Dame, considering that CJ's coming back and people might overcorrect in terms of not valuing Dame highly enough tonight against a really bad defense. And I'll continue to plug Kuz, who's finally earned the trust of LeBron James. And as you continue to see guys out for the Lakers, mainly AD. Kuzma's a great play, continues to be a great play, shooting well from three. So I'm with it, Nate. Another great night tonight. Really looking forward to all these games with you guys. Jump in those comments, like and subscribe for us, and we'll be back tomorrow with another video. For tonight, happy betting.